Good morning. Today is March 10th, 2024. It is approximately 5:40 in the morning. Today is also Adar the 2nd, the month of Adar 2nd, the first day of Adar, Sunday, which is a leap year. So we have 2 months of Adar. We continue with Tanya. We're going to look with a little review. We are now on the 24th chapter of Tanya. It's lesson number 35, I think. I don't recall. You look at what lesson is. And the previous lessons, from lesson 1 until now, we talked about Tanya from the introduction, from the way Rambam looks at it, from the way Kabbalists look at it, from the way Hasidim look at it, from the way Mizgnagdim with Vilna Gaon looked at it. And a thought has to come to us. We started these discussions from how does Tanya helps a typical Jewish person, or non-Jewish person for that matter, to live a better life, not necessarily materially, how to become rich, although perhaps it has some effect as well, but how to find peace with yourself, not to worry, and not to get sick, not to have controversy with your neighbors, with your friends, with your family, and so forth. So for Tanya, essentially, I guess it's a fundamental postulate of the Judaism, is that there is one God, and some different views in what shape and form God interacts with us. God is us? Are we all one? The unity, non-duality, or there's a God out there and there's us, and there's also differences of view. So we're no longer controlled by God. God always can fix things for us, but He is that, and this is us. That view is not the majority, but there are some people who think that. Some people feel that God is there, we have a spark of God in us, we are connected to God continuously. He knows our actions, our thoughts, our feelings, but He gives us complete freedom of choice to do what we want. We're not dependent on God from that standpoint. And then there's another view that Tanya presents, that God is continuing with us. And that's difficult philosophical questions, is debated in Judaism many times. And that's, in the past, was a big dividing line between Hasidim. Of course, remember, Hasidism started. Baal Shem Tov was born in 1698, in the end of 17th century. So it's only 300 years old. When you think about mainstream Judaism, it's been around for thousands of years. So different views and trends and modification and explanations came about. So, but the question we have to ask ourselves, beyond the Tanya, but in a humanity level overall, not even on Jewish level, but on the Islam level, on Christianity level, on Hinduism level, on Zoroastrian level, or called Zoroastrian, considered to be idol worshipping. I don't know much about other religions. Do you know much about other religions? How often we claim that what we believe is right, and everybody else, the best come close to how I believe, but not exactly, and therefore they are not exactly shined by the same light of wisdom as I am or you are. Well, that's a quite arrogant attitude when you think about it, from any religion, from Judaism as well. The objective should be is to find unity and find the commonality of ground. And remember that we come from Adam and Eve, who come from God. Now, that brings us another issue. There's a humanity now, if we take overall consolidating view that all humanity is one, not just Jews or Muslims or Arabs or Swedes or Australians or Indians or Hindus or Russians or Americans, whoever you take nowadays, by religions differences, by cultural differences, by historical differences, still all that together creates a salad, a bouquet of differences, diversity, and a unifying portion in all that we all come on Adam and Eve. We can't say, yeah, God gave us Torah, and that makes us a unique nation. Well, God gave Hindus Hinduism, and that makes them a unique nation. So we cannot claim superiority of knowledge. We have to acknowledge that other people, especially if we really don't know much about what they believe and how they act, so we cannot judge people by their beliefs. We can judge people and say, "You shall not judge," but we can have an opinion of people or how they act. And therefore, the other day I'm studying with a rabbi, Tractate Yoma. Tractate Yoma, it's Talmud, Gemara, and Mishnah. And what struck me recently in here, I have it in Hebrew and English edition. And the English translation of Hebrew says this. At one point, they talk about holidays, and Gemara continuously jumps on tangents to cover all sorts of other related or unrelated things to a discussion. It says, rabbis taught in Beraita. The Torah states, "You shall fulfill my judgments," and then it talks also, "observe my statutes." What is the difference between judgments and statutes? So Talmud says that statutes is basically something we don't understand. But God says, do it, so we do it. Jews don't eat pork. We don't know the reason of purification from Metzora, spiritual contaminations, and a couple of other things. And the passages usually end in Torah, I'm Hashem, Ani Hashem, Ani Adonai. Don't ask. This is just a rule. Many rules have logical sense. Not everything is just trust God, we do it. Many rules have logical explanation. And some rules, judgment specifically, okay? Mishpatai, I guess it's Aramaic pronunciation of Hebrew, Mishpatai, says, those judgments refer to the matters that even they had not been written, logic would have dictated that they be written. And these are the prohibitions of idolatry, adultery, murder, robbery, and disrespectfully, Gemara says blessings, divine name, but Gemara it doesn't say of profaning. It doesn't even want to use the word profaning, but it essentially talks about not to profaning the name of the Almighty. Those 5 things, says, logic could have derived it. The question you can say, what kind of logic? Well, before Torah was given, we had Noah, the laws of Noah. Those 7 laws of Noah are essentially, we have 10 commandments. The Noah had 7. And many of these commandments, as I just read, those commandments are do not kill, do not commit adultery, do not steal, and do not say disrespectfully about God. Those things are common to all humanity. Well, who gave these commandments to Noah? God gave these commandments. Well, that brings them into the further point. That means that it all comes from God, essentially. Well, there's atheists, agnostics. There are people who don't believe in God. But they also believe that you shall not kill, you should not steal, you should not rob. Many non-religious people, non-observant people that openly say, I don't believe in God, do not necessarily go around and poking in your eye saying, well, you are silly by believing in God. The right thing to do is not to believe in God. Most atheists do not necessarily say that. Your neighbor can be not formally believing in God, and yet he gets up in the morning, goes to work, spends weekends with his family, with friends, with you, helps you if you you have a delivery of a refrigerator to your house, he can come out and help you move it into the house. What's wrong with this person? Well, nothing. You can say long-term implications, perhaps he is a nice person, but his children and grandchildren, on and on, perhaps would not have a guidance of the Bible, of the Torah, of the Quran, of the Mishnah, of the Krishna, of the Hinduism, whatever. He wouldn't have a guiding light on some formal document. And therefore, they will not know how to behave. Well, that's a good question to ask. We can discuss about it separately. But the fundamental thing is, if somebody does something wrong, and we tend to look in their religion and say, oh, well, if that's what the Jews do, I don't want to have any part of that. Or if that's what Muslims do, I don't want to have part of that. Or if that's what Hindus do, I don't have any part of that. We can we can easily jump into a situation when somebody with certain beliefs that's actually inappropriate, and then we say, we sort of say, this is not a good person, therefore, entire thing of beliefs that he or she follow is no good for us. So we have some kind of internal compass of the superior judgment. Where does this compass come from? Well, it might not come, it's probably, you can say it doesn't come from religion. Because if atheist is passing this judgment, well, he doesn't believe in anything. Well, if the religious person says, well, he believes in his view of God, of the eternity, and even within his view and his followers, there are different camps and divisions. So what is the ultimate decision? In Tanya, we're learning in Tanya now, there is an internal force, internal soul, and we talk about dynamics of the soul. So we already have to pass the point of acknowledging there is such a soul. There is God, and God somehow interacts with us, or are we part of Him? And then from that standpoint on, Tanya derives all the dynamics, how to become either close to God, or as Tanya puts it, to essentially be satisfied with the fact that you are part of God. Those debates are within religious people, in which way, in what form the God interacts with us, we interact with Him. Are we part of it? It becomes philosophical discussions. Rambam jumps in, other philosophers jumps in, even Greeks philosophers, Plato, Aristotle go through this situation. So we continuously, for thousands of years, develop understanding what is driving us. God, intuition, nothing, nature. Those things are they predate the religion, or religion predates our actions? So two people can be debating, atheist and religious person, from any religion, Hinduism, Islam, Judaism, whatnot, and they can argue how to live their lives. And they might come to the point they all agree on certain common things. You shall not murder. You shall not rob banks. I don't think too many people will believe robbing banks, it's a normal thing for humanity. I would imagine even criminals, bank robbers, know that this is not the right thing to do. Maybe they probably never think about it, or not ask this question. But if they were asked this question, they will say, well, who are you to tell me what to do? Well, this is my profession. Well, is it normal or not normal? I would venture to guess that for majority, 99.999% of humanity, that's not the right thing to do, to go ahead and become a highway robber. Even the robbers themselves acknowledge, well, I feel bad about it, but my family was in this business, my grandparents were in business, I just do what I have to do. I'm part of the deal, nothing I can do about it, so don't worry about it. I don't think much about it, this is my job. So what comes first? God. Well, atheist says, nothing. The Big Bang. What happened before Big Bang? The answer would be, who knows? Who knows? Even in the Talmud, our Talmud, our oral Torah says, do not ask the questions before the creation or after the end of the world. Don't ask that, because a human mind cannot understand, and that's something atheists and religious people probably can agree. We cannot prove what happens before, and we cannot don't know what happened after. We choose to have our beliefs in order to live our lives well, good, and proper, and morally. And that's something that we can talk about later. If you have any questions, comments on this, please do. But I'm now not talking just to the Jewish people or Islam followers or Hinduism. I'm talking about entire humanity. We have to find, and we have a signs from God or from nature or from inside yourself. Whether you're naturalist religion or you're Jewish, you're Muslim, you're Hindu, you're Confucianist, you're Zoroastrianist, whatever you are, you have to come together to understand and look in the similarities in our beliefs, not in divisions. We'll continue going through Tanya tomorrow from then on, and see if Tanya answers that question. Does Tanya reaches out and to try to bring the bridge between the humanity? Or is Tanya essentially also states that yes, there's a uniqueness about this particular belief, that belief is right, and other beliefs are in fault, and therefore we have to be tolerant to them, we have to be nice to them, but yet they are wrong and we are right. Does Tanya say that? or Tanya is more tolerant, open to different views that even the non-followers of Tanya would agree? That's a good question to discuss. We're jumping into a philosophy, perhaps, but I think we have to come to the point of simplicity, not too much esoteric views, but to find out how do I live my life by whatever religion or non-religion I follow to be helpful to another human being, regardless of his race, of religion, of his color of his skin, of his background, of his beliefs, of his views. How can I find commonality? That commonality, in my view, what God wants from us. And if some of you do not believe in God, that commonality, the nature, your inner self wants from us. In any case, that something is what, in my opinion, Tanya calls it pre-thought. When Tanya talks about three components, thought, speech, and action, and then pre-thought, that intuition, the deep core, that pre-thought is probably a commonality that unites us all, children of Adam and Eve. Have a great day and good week. And Chodesh Tov. It's a new month, maybe this second of Adar, the second of Adar, Yom Rishon, Sunday, will become a good light and beginning to humanity to come together, to become good, to seek good, be good, and exist and live together in peace and harmony. That is what I think that inner core in all of us wants us ultimately to express. Let's help each other do that. Have a great day.